Meanwhile, you're always about women's business. Always talking about the sisters. Always talking to the sisters. They've got mahrams. They've got walis. They've got their guardians. It isn't you. I mean, I hate to use their terminology, but this is about the most beta thing you can possibly do. Always in the women's section. And the irony is that these are the same ones who are endlessly droning on and on about masculinity. Meanwhile, you can't do the basic thing, the most basic thing that men do as men, which is to ignore women. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't mean that in an obnoxious way, but women have their world, their sphere, and men have their world and their sphere. But meanwhile, you're always trying to weasel your way into the sphere of women, under the guise of nasiha, under the guise of advice. But you're just like a peeping Tom who's trying to justify why he's doing what he's doing by saying that you're just trying to check up on the sisters to make sure that they're safe. No, it's not your business. The men are over here, brother. Meanwhile, you keep sliding your way back to where the sisters are. And this is very disrespectful. It's very insulting to their walis. I mean, let's take this offline, Let me catch you on the street talking to my wife or talking to my sisters about how they shouldn't go out, or they shouldn't go to the gym, or they shouldn't go to school, or you don't like the way they're dressed, or what have you. I wish you would. You better hope that that red pill you took is a painkiller, because you're going to be dancing cheek to cheek with the concrete here.
Get your life, baby. I got my why you can serve my mind, baby. Feeling me, that's why they killing me, lately. Get your life. Get your life, baby. I got my why you can serve my mind, baby. Feeling me, that's why they killing me, lately. Your life. Run up when you see me, no disguises. Keep that thing with me, cause I don't do surprises. J Chanel, show and tell, all facts, no lies, streak. Get your life, cause I'm the type to come to it that mind quick. Eyes on me, what you care for? Watching me, baby, care for. If you ain't a fan, where the cameras? Hide in the back with the bellboys. My circle so restricted. Hands raised like it's your religion. When I sleep, pay close attention. Fake friends out here pretending. Get your life, baby. I got my why you can serve my mind, baby. Feeling me, that's why they killing me, lately. Get your life. Get your life, baby. I got my why you can serve my mind, baby. Feeling me, that's why they killing me, lately. Get your life.
Focus there.
Watch them cause they after me like a pot of gold. I'm not for play, ask Keisha if you don't know. I'm a little bit cray-cray, approach me, you better be right. If you don't come correctly, you can catch these cans tonight. Eyes on me, what you care for? Watching me, baby, care for. If you ain't a fan, where the cameras? Hide in the back with the bellboys. My circle's so restricted. Hands raised like it's your religion. When I sleep, pay close attention. Fake friends out here pretending. Get your life, baby. I got my why you can serve my mind, baby. Feeling me, that's why they killing me, lately. Get your life.
Get your life.
Get your life, baby. I got my why you can serve my mind, baby. Feeling me, that's why they killing me, lately. Get your life.
Get your life, boo.
Good morning, good evening, good night, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's your nighttime, right time DJ Music here with a special episode of the Chop Shop. Today, there, ladies and gentlemen, you see it on the screen. I've had him on the Chop Shop before. We've chopped it about his political career, and a few other things. So you see it. We're going to talk about some politics, some hot topics, and some current events up off in here today. Y'all give me a 1 or a 2 if you can hear me down listening lounge, as I call it, before you folks before I introduce my guest for today. Give me a 1 or a 2 down there. Hey, Miss J, how you doing? Thank you so very much. Y'all can hear me? So let me turn down my music in the background a little bit, and we're going to get on to this. I've been looking forward to this. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, I've had my man up here before. I'd like to call him one of the young lions that's out here in the street, making some noise, doing some things, not sitting up in the YouTube streams, complaining about this and that. He's out there, boots on the ground. So I'm talking about candidate Amiri Brown there, ladies and gentlemen. Let me go and turn down my background tracking for a minute, so make sure we get all of this good conversation there. And come on in there, Amiri. Welcome in, good sir. Let me remove this off the top there so folks can see us talking. How you doing?
Yeah, how you doing, DJ Music? How's everything going?
Everything's going good, brother. How you? How the family?
Everything's lovely. We are sticking to it and sticking together.
I see, doing all that's been going on. The last time I had you on, we talked about your political aspirations. You ran for office. Unfortunately, came up short in that. So why don't you tell us what's been going on since that? I know you haven't put down the gauntlet. I know you've been keeping running. So why don't you give the folks abreast of what's been going on with you since the last time we chopped it up, sir?
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to come on here and talk about this. This is obviously something that's important to me, and it's an opportunity. And the greatness of this opportunity is being able to, number one, set an example for my circle, my social circle, my children, namely, so they can see what it is for a man or a person to dedicate themselves to a cause that's bigger than them, to actually serve the community, and to do it and when you don't really have the cards stacked in your favor. It's about persevering and believing in what's right and standing up for what's right, even when it's not popular, even when it's not easy, even when it's not lucrative. And so for me, this journey has been it's been a profound one. It's something that's important to me, and the thing that I want my detractors and the naysayers and the gainsayers and my haters to know is that I'm never ever going to stop. Never. I always keep going. I'll always keep thriving, because it's about what I fundamentally believe in. For me, it's not about portraying a character. It's not about trying to be something I'm not. It's about living up to the ideals that I've always walked with my entire life. It was the same ideals that made me say at the tender age of 19, I want to dedicate myself to ministry. I was a street evangelist for my younger years, when I could have been pursuing a lot of other things that were destructive, that I think a lot of my generation, my demographic, let's be honest, a lot of young brothers got caught up in. So I made that decision. I also made the decision to get married and to make a family and do my best to raise that family. So for me, this is all within the same continuum of values and ideals that I walk with and that I believe in. And so I never stopped. I've been talking to people. I've been, talking to voters, letting them know what that they have something to not only lose in this upcoming election, but they also have something to gain. And it's required me talking to people who I may not necessarily have conversations with. And the main focal point of my campaign is I want people to understand and to know that working people of this country have more to offer than just our back and our labor. We
Come
have
on, man.
something to say as well. It's not just about the wealthy and the well-connected, but working everyday regular people who have to think about how they're going to make ends meet, how they're going to keep a roof over their head, how they're going to pay their car insurance and also pay for their doctor's appointment. We have something to say. This is our government too. And so that's been the main focal point of my campaign, and my message to people here in the district has been, look, in order to get something you've never had before, you have to do something you've never done before. And so I said, in order to get something you've never had before, you have to do something you've never done before.
Okay, folks, you understand.
Exactly. And so that's been the meat of my message. It's what I believe in, and more than anything else, I believe in the people. Look, one of the things that we've seen since Donald Trump has ascended to the presidency this second time around is we've seen him and his cohorts be very active on social media with crude, crass, downright mean-spirited memes, AI videos, things of this nature. And the thing that people ask themselves is, why would the president and his administration utilize social media and operate this way? And the thing is this, is that they're not doing that to convince us that's who they are. They're doing that to convince us that's who we are. And when I go out here and when I talk to people, I don't see the ugliness that Donald Trump and his sycophants and his flying monkeys on social media trying to tell us that's who we are as Americans. That's not what I see. And so my faith is in the people, and I believe at the end of the day, that faith is going to be vindicated, and the people are going to make the right decision in this campaign.
Right, absolutely, Amiri, and well spoken, sir. So, again, would you say, just based on that statement alone, would you think that America as a whole is overall is good, regardless of the hue of the person?
Yeah, I think most people fundamentally are decent at the core. What it is it's the other external extenuating factors of life in a first world nation, of life in America, that causes people to act out in ways that they wouldn't normally act out in. This is what we see playing out here, especially in the 21st century. We've seen it with the gender war, and we're seeing it with the whole racialized rhetoric and the xenophobia. Is the American pie, as we've understood it for the last 60 some odd years, is shrinking. It's contracting. This is because of wealth inequality. It's because of income inequality. And so what happens is when the share of the American pie contracts, people turn on each other. And so this is basically divide and conquer being played and waged against the proletariat classes. And the thing that we have to understand is that, look, we have more in common than not, and we have more to gain if we work together than if we work against one another. So it's my belief that most of the people in this country only want to be able to pay their bills, put their kids through school, have a modicum of the American dream, and go about their business. It's really a minority on both sides who are looking to stoke hatred. They're looking to stoke division. They're looking to stoke cynicism and cater to our worst base impulses. And the reason why is because for some of these individuals, it gives them a monopoly on systemic and institutional power. And then for the other part of these individuals, they make money. Look, this is how these YouTube and social media algorithms have been constructed. They've been constructed to rage bait and proliferate that type of content all throughout our timelines. But on one part of it is, and I've talked about this before, Mr. DJ Music, is as the consumers, as the people who are viewing this type of content, we have to take some accountability because we choose what's valuable.
Absolutely.
We choose what's valuable. And so if we continue to, well, go ahead.
No, I wholeheartedly agree with you, and that's one of the things that I say. Sometimes, yeah, we see the content creators and we see the social medias, but as a consumer of these people, we make the decision of what's popular and what's right and what's wrong. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely, absolutely. And for me, I have the Martin Luther King approach. I'm less interested in the content of your platform, and I'm more interested in the content of your character. And I
Mm,
think if more people operated that way, I think we would be in a better place than where we are in this country socially. And one of the things I mentioned in a speech that I did recently, Mr. DJ Music, is that America, there's some dark days ahead of America. America has some challenges that it's going to have to face, and it's going to require people banding together and choosing to do the right thing and choosing to have some integrity.
right.
And so, look, if there's anyone who's under this illusion that things are gonna get better here, they're sadly mistaken. We just saw today UPS just announced that they're laying off 30,000 workers in America. So these are American jobs. Amazon just came out and said they're laying off 16,000 workers in America, and this is for Amazon. It's predominantly due to this AI revolution.
Mhm.
And my thing is, like, look, when we saw Donald Trump standing there with the tech bros, with people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and these other tech oligarchs, what, you thought they were there to advocate for you? Is that what you thought?
Amir, a lot of people did think that, and I'm glad
Right.
you brought that up with all the different things that's going on the course of the country as it is. As you say, there are some dark days ahead. You mentioned some of the things. I don't know if you're aware of it, but over in Norway, it's something to do with a caterpillar that's really running under the radar. That they're calling it. I guess they're basically saying that they're calling in the chips on Caterpillar. And folks, if you don't know who Caterpillar is, you really need to go look it up. It's one of the staple companies here in the United States. But if
Yep.
a large part of what they do is leaves the country, so if
Yeah, I
again
mean, and you're
something
talking about a lot of industries that if Caterpillar goes down, you're talking about a lot of industries that are going to be adversely affected. It's not just Caterpillar. It's the rubber company that produces the tires that Caterpillar
facts,
machines use. It's
the
the
domino effect, right?
Yeah, it's a domino effect. And so that's what I'm saying. If anybody thinks that we're about to enter some golden age, like that, with despite Donald Trump and his billing,
Yeah,
you have to take a grander look at the economic tea leaves of what's going on and what's occurring globally, and that is just on the economic front. But I mean, even if you look at the geopolitics and what's going on with all these emerging conflicts, small scale conflicts and wars that's brewing, it appears as if America is going to be in for a rough time here, probably over the next several years into the next several decades. And the real sad part in all of this, Mr. DJ Music, is
hmm
I've been talking about this kind of stuff since 2017. Since I've been on social media, whether it was Facebook, whether it was YouTube, whatever, I've been talking about this kind of stuff. And the same individuals who laughed, who scoffed, the
and told you
same
you were
group of people,
crazy, right?
exactly the same group
Right.
of people who are the most ill equipped to deal with these type of seismic shifts in that's approaching our American way of life. The things we have become accustomed to are going to be the ones who are going to serve as the fodder for what's coming.
So
And the sad part is it didn't have to go this way. That there was
sure
an
did.
opportunity to go a different route, and that's not what was chosen, unfortunately.
And why do you think they chose the latter of the two, Amir?
I think some of it is greed. I think some of it is just downright ignorance. I think some of it is ego, and I think the greatest component of this, I think there's a certain type of privilege that arises from the fact of not having any real responsibility. That
Mm,
if you don't it's just like this, Mr. DJ Music, and I'm sure you remember this. The
Sure.
Jordan flu game.
Mhm.
Everybody talks about how Jordan played with the flu in that game, but why do we think that is? Like, if that was Steve Kerr, he wouldn't have played with the flu. Because
Okay.
it doesn't mean anything if he's not on the floor. But when you're the person who's carrying the team, when you're the franchise, you're the face of the franchise, you're expected to show up whether you have the flu or not. And so I use that as an analogy to say that we're predominantly talking about a group of people who, whether they show up or not, nothing stops. The
Right.
engine keeps running. And so
Right.
because of that, there's a certain type of privilege of ignorance that you don't really have to think about. You don't have to think about the possibility of existential crises arising that you have to deal with, because it doesn't, because your role doesn't mean anything. You're not a major player. And so I think that by and large that had a lot to do with it. I think that's why the warnings and the content dealing with this type of stuff has fallen on deaf ears, and even now, while we're seeing this stuff play out, while we're seeing an agenda being pursued full force like Project 2025,
Oh
many
my.
of these individuals are still like the band on the Titanic while the ship is sinking, still playing the
Right.
same
Right.
tune,
Right. Right.
still playing the
Absolutely.
same tune.
Same tune, same tune. You're absolutely right, folks. And if you don't believe it, not only on YouTube, but you can go to all different social medias and you see the same characters. Because I remember as I
Mhm.
was doing my little research on you, Amir, you did something back in 2020 called the Two
Right.
Americas. You remember
Mhm.
how much pushback you got for that?
Absolutely. I got a lot of pushback for talking about there are two black Americas, which is true. And the sad part is that a lot of the sources that I was pulling from in that day and age, the part of the black America that was considered more socially stable, more upwardly mobile, more forward thinking and progressive, that comprised the largest share of the black community. But what's
Hmm.
happened, because of something I've alluded to earlier, because of wealth inequality, because of income inequality, because of the things that have happened culturally over the last several decades, now what's happened is the greater part of the two black Americas is the part that we would consider socially unstable,
Hmm.
socially backward, more dysfunctional, more prone to self-destructive behaviors. That has become the larger share,
Right.
unfortunately. And so now if you're a part of what we would consider the more socially stable part of black America, you're in a distinct minority. And so
Right.
even that has been causing issues here within our own group, within our own peer and social group. And matter of fact, that's really served as the basis and the bedrock for the gender war. That's why I was doing that type of content, talking about it back in
Right.
2020.
Right. And now, excuse me, Amir, bringing it back a little bit closer back to home in your
Okay.
campaign. I see some of the key topics that you ran on in 2024, where you plan on running on those same things again: economic opportunity, education,
Mhm.
healthcare, and criminal justice reform. Which of those four that I mentioned is most prevalent to you right now?
Right now, it would be education. Matter of fact, I just participated in a career fair at one of the high schools out here, talking with seniors and juniors in high school, and it's kind of the same thing I was just mentioning. I was letting them know that, look, everyone is not going to be a Rhodes Scholar. You don't have to take on a mountain of debt to go get a 4-year degree. There are other avenues. That's the good news. Now, the
Hmm.
bad news is, because of Project 2025, because of the Trump administration's assault on the Department of Education, USAID, doing things like shutting down Job Corps, there's an active agenda to kind of restrict some of this stuff and contract some of this stuff. So the reason why I was telling these young people is that, like, look, you don't have time to waste time is of the essence. You have to make hay while the sun shines. So yeah, there's other options, but you want to take advantage of these options while they are available, because based off of the posture of the current administration and who's the head of the Department of Education, who's to say that these opportunities are going to be available 2 years from now, 3 or 4 years from now? So right now it's education.
Okay. And with the climate, you mentioned, of course, the Trump, some say administration, but I like to call it a regime. Of course, in the Department of Education, we have a former WWE, a star there, or whatever they want to call owner, whatever, running the Department of Education, and in all different facets of government, Amiri, we see folks that, dare I use the 3 letters that they blamed us for, DEI. Wouldn't it be fair to say what's going on right now with the Trump regime is the actual manifestation of DEI?
Well, if you mean dumb, evasive, and incompetent, whenever you can never nail them down on what is the actual results of the policies they're pursuing. If you bring it up, then Trump and his sycophants are going to try and blame it on Joe Biden. I don't think anyone is going to use an adjective like intelligent to describe the policy positions that Donald Trump and his regime are pursuing. And even if you look at what's been happening with ICE, Christy Nome, the things that they've been doing, they're incompetent. Look, DEI. Look, diversity is and always has been America's strength.
I was about to say, isn't that the bedrock of who and what we are? Diversity.
Absolutely. That's why I say, the United States of America. We're not. Look, we don't have to all think the same way and look the same way and be the same way for us to be Americans and for us to be united. Because let me tell you something, I've never got, I don't know, maybe I'm out the loop, Mr. DJ Music, but I've never gotten a tax waiver from the IRS because I wasn't white and a male. See, so they love DEI when it's time to pay taxes. See, they love DEI when it's time to fight a war, because they sure believe in drafting people of color when it's time to go fight somewhere. That's what they was doing. When World War I, they didn't have no problem sending brothers to go fight and die. In World War II, when we had to free Europe from the grips of Nazism and Hitler, they didn't have no problem drafting brothers. In the Korean War, the Vietnam War. See, when it's time to put in the work to make America actually be something and exist as a nation state, they love DEI. But then when it's time to reap the benefits and divide the spoils of it, then all of a sudden DEI is such a bad thing. And what I'm saying isn't incorrect, because we can go by the history. Look, we've seen this type of rhetoric come from these far right MAGA white nationalists and white supremacist type podcasters talking about how white men built America, when there's nothing could be further from the truth. White men didn't even fight. Look, the first person who took a bullet and died for the United States of America, whose blood birthed America, was a free slave named Crispus Attucks. That's what kicked off the Boston Massacre.
Okay. And they couldn't change that. And correct me if I'm wrong, Amir, but for the longest time, until you actually did your hero research, they didn't tell us he was a black man, did they?
No, they didn't. They're trying to make you think that we was just somewhere picking cotton. No, you always had a free population of black people who have been contributing to this country from the very beginning. Look, you had Native Americans who fought in the Revolutionary War. You had white women who fought in the Revolutionary War. But this is not the narrative that gets peddled. See, I've talked about this, Mr. DJ Music, is the institutional narratives that govern and dominate the society is what has been situating and orienting a certain group above everyone else. I think we forget that for a long time in this country, not all white men were seen as equal. White men had to fight for their rights of suffrage.
Okay, not the Irish. You know,
Right.
that was the old
Yeah, it
thing.
was
You remember the
once
movie
upon a
Blade?
time, if you wasn't white, male, and wealthy, you couldn't vote. You didn't have no
Right.
suffrage rights either. You was in the same boat with
Okay.
the slaves and with the women.
Absolutely, you were. Again, speaking of the voting thing there, you know, you hear so many people say now that, you know, that the black voting rights are not under attack. What say you?
Well, I say that's a bold-faced lie. That's a bold-faced lie. We see there's an active agenda to roll the clock back. Look, this is the question that I would ask, because something that we hear when people talk about the Make America Great Again movement is this idea where we want to talk about where America was never great. Look, we just know from objective reality this isn't true. There's a reason why everybody wants to come here. It's the reason why we're the number one superpower, world's number one military, world's largest economy. Look at our cultural impact, our soft power, our influence throughout geopolitics. So America is and was great. The question that I would ask anyone who's talking about Make America Great Again is, what do you mean? When has America ever stopped being great? I think what Donald Trump has been running on and what his base believe in, I think, is a very pessimistic view of America, because I would argue America has never ceased from being great. I would argue that the civil rights movement and people being included into this American democracy, this American experience, has only heightened the greatness of America.
Wait right there,
Okay.
Mary. I was listening to a stream the other day. I'm not going to call the person's name out, but I was listening to a stream. Well, one of the well-known content creators said that civil rights had nothing to do with black people.
Oh wow, that's one of the most.
How is that possible?
About how ignorant people. I don't even see in what realm of reality you could even fix your mouth to say something like that. You know what I mean? I don't even know how to respond to that, because I'm not even.
Right. And that's what I was in shock when I say, because, you know, something like that, I could understand that coming from, you know, that particular set of America. Let's not get away from that. And I think that's who Donald Trump is appealing to, with that part of the Make America Great Again. That's who they're talking about, to where white men had all power, you know, that you had to, as a black man, you couldn't go here or you couldn't do that. I think that's what they mean by Make America Great Again, not the physical part of what you're talking about, because you're right. In the grand scheme of things, America has always been great.
Yeah, America.
Go ahead. But I think what they're trying to do is, in the greatness of trying to tell people how great we are, they want to leave out a certain society as if we had nothing to do, i.e. us as black people, had nothing to do with their greatness.
And that's the exact point that I was making, Mr. DJ Music, is that it's taken contributions from everyone to get America to this point. You just didn't do that by yourself. What you did by yourself was you reaped the benefits by yourself, but you didn't do the work by yourself.
Right.
You didn't do the work by yourself. And again, when you hear a lot of these ignorant folks who talk that type of rhetoric, these are people who they themselves have at one point or another in this country been excluded as well.
Right.
And that's the funny part, that it really, if you're a regular white guy from the Rust Belt of America somewhere, at one point they weren't talking about you when they said all men are created equal. They weren't talking about you either. You had to fight to get your rights too. So then when you get, let's get this straight. Is rights are good enough for you, but they're not good enough for nobody else. So it's okay if you get your rights, then after you get your rights, you want to close the door on everybody else behind you. See, that's been the type of push and pull that's been happening in this country, where people who were once excluded get excluded by the power structure, and then they want to turn around and exclude everybody else. And it doesn't work that way. It's not supposed to work that way.
Right. Absolutely. Now, bringing it to since there's a little correlation between what was going on in the '60s and the civil rights movement, and we
Hmm.
see the onslaught of ICE.
Hmm.
What as a Democrat, sir, how do you, as a collective, as a Democratic Party, I know maybe not on the local level, but we know local level politics is very important. So, what do you
Hmm.
folks as Democrats, what's the plan to combat? Because it's not going to be easy for you. We know that, but
Right.
what's some of the ideas of what you folks as Democrats are saying is that to right this ship that we're in.
Well, I think it just has to get down to good old fashioned policy making. I think one of the problems that have taken place over the last several decades, particularly in the wake of the age of Obama, has been on the left. We've pursued a very crusader type of politic where we're steadily trying to push the envelope. So we've had the first non-white president. So now let's see if we can get the first non-male president. Let's see if we can get the first non-straight president. And yeah, that sounds good and it feels good. But at the end of the day, is that really meeting majority of Americans where they are? And I think right now, if we look at again the wealth inequality and the income inequality, most people are thinking about economics. They're thinking about how they're going to pay their bills, how they're going to be able to save money when they retire. They're going to be able to retire with a nest egg that affords them the ability to live out their twilight years with dignity and living their best life. See, I think that's where most people are. So I think as a Democrat, we just have to get back to good old fashioned policy making and pursuing policies that touch most Americans where they are. We don't have to continue down this path of being constant crusaders seeking to push the envelope of what's socially acceptable and what's not. And I think if we do that, then that'll go a long way in helping us turn this ship. Now, the other part of it is that because MAGA have gotten everything they wanted, they have they control every lever of government. It's doing a lot of the easy work for us because people are seeing in real time what's happening and they don't like what they're seeing.
Hmm.
So they're getting the full force of MAGA, the policies they're pursuing, the things that their vision of America, and most Americans don't like what they're seeing. I mean, look at what's happened over the past several weeks in Minneapolis with ICE. We're talking about Renee Good and
Hmm.
Alex Preddy
Freddie, and then
being executed and on camera in front of everybody. And so MAGA is doing a lot of the work for us by pursuing these wrong-headed errant policies. And so again, as Democrats, all we have to do is just seize on the moment and just get back to talking about the economy and things that are going to improve the lives of everyday working Americans. We can get back to the crusading later. For right now, we have to deal with the economics that people are facing.
Right. Now, again, I'm married with the heightened political climate that we see. Of
Mhm.
course, I don't. You're a family man. Do
Right.
you fear some of that when you are, as you say, one of the crusaders, that you start pointing things out? Of course, once, as you use the word, Trump turns his sycophants on you, or
Mhm.
a rumor about this, a rumor about that. How do you combat that part of the when the rhetoric is coming from the very people that you're opposing?
Well, I mean, there's a sacrifice that comes with this. Um, and look, it could get dicey. It could become, an unsafe situation. Who knows? But my thinking with that has been, I will cross that bridge when I get to it. Now, I will say this, Mr. DJ Music, I
Mhm.
am aware of individuals who, by the way, don't know me personally. Their beef with me arises from the fact that while they run around wanting to hold everybody else accountable, I hold them accountable. That's the problem they really have with me. I have no real, I don't have no real connection with these people, but they are pursuing an agenda and a plan to try and kind of stoke that happening in this race, and they're looking to make things difficult for me, potentially unsafe for me. And so to those individuals, what I want them to understand is that given what happens, win, lose, or draw, I'm never gonna forgive you for that. See, because this is what it boils down to. And see, even the Bible talks about this. It talks about those people who hate those who do good. Because at the end of the day, you can't say I'm trying to get rich off this. It don't make no money. This is me in an effort looking to serve my community and to do something good. Why would you want to stop that? Why would you halfway across the country? You halfway across the country worried about what's going on here, knowing the type of environment that we're in. And so to those individuals, I got the Tracy Morgan approach. I'm not going to, don't think I forgot.
Right.
Don't think I forgot. I'm like Tracy Morgan. I don't forget, because when I'm sitting here doing something that's good and that's important to me, you want to sit here and try and bring harm and danger to me. Don't think I'm going to forget.
Right. Now, again, since you brought it up and brought about the I won't call it unrest, but the peaceful protests that are going on in a certain part of the world. Actually, it's going on all over the country, but the focus is up there now in Minneapolis and Minnesota. We saw recently actually 3 killings of Mr. Porter, Ms. Good, and now Mr. Peretti, all at the hands of ICE agents. And some people say that when you see these ICE agents that you should step out the way. But wouldn't that be giving up your right to protest? And you also hear people say that Mr. Peretti went into a situation with a gun, but wouldn't that be giving up your Second Amendment rights?
Exactly. It's the hypocrisy. Look, I just mentioned that, Mr. DJ Music, how, people believe in rights for them, but then they don't believe in those same rights for other people. And so that's what you see playing out, because when it was the J6ers and when it was Kyle Rittenhouse showing up in Wisconsin with bringing his assault rifle to a protest, he was a hero.
Right.
So and that's just that's what it is. Like, there's no way you can watch what's been happening with ICE in Minneapolis and in good conscience justify that. We're talking about people being murdered. They shot that guy, Mr. Alex,
10 times.
Freddie 10 times. After you could watch the video, you could see that they disarmed this man. This man was a ICU Veterans Administration nurse. He was caring for our wounded warriors. And so I think for many Americans, they're going to have to negotiate the contradiction of MAGA in their rhetoric and MAGA in their actions. It's the same thing with these gun nuts. They when it's a child who goes into a school and shoots up a school and there are little children being blown away, they don't want you treading on their rights. That's just the cost of the Second Amendment. But then when it's a man at a protest who's not being aggressive, who's protesting peacefully, he has his weapon concealed behind his back, but he's not brandishing the weapon, he's not reaching for it or anything, you disarm him and then you shoot him down 10 times and then try to lie. And I think we're gonna have to be honest with some of this stuff. I think what is going to have to cause the larger white community to do is take an assessment of themselves, because how many times have we seen that same type of story play out against a black person, and the media and others try and launch those same types of attacks against that black victim that they did against Miss Renee Good and that they did against
Absolutely. We don't
Alex
know
Credit.
what
They use
happened. We
the
don't know
same
what
type of
happened before
tactics.
the video.
Exactly.
Right. We don't know what happened, but clearly in every case we tell you what's happening. So that's valid pushback to white America, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Would it be wrong for a black person to say, now y'all understand what we're talking about?
And absolutely, no, it's not wrong. I believe it's a great teachable moment. It's like, look, we at the end of the day, we're all in the same boat because these people, you have a minority in this country who believe that this country is supposed to operate and function and benefit them. That's what these people believe. If you want to talk about race, if you want to talk about gender, if you want to talk about class, all of these things are just illusions to make you feel included when you're really not included. Because at any
Absolutely.
time, you can end up like Renee Good or you can end up like Alex Preddy. The thing for us as black people is we've long known this because we've been experiencing it. So it's nothing new for us. There's no shock about it for us. This is how they've been doing.
Right. The shock and awe, it's been gone for us, hasn't it? It's now, but when you say that, of course, when you have a platform and you say that, it's all of a sudden, you're not being sympathetic and apathetic, but that's not the point of being it's basically saying welcome to reality. Because when you see folks like what happened to Eric Garner, when you see what happened to so many of our children, grown men, grown children, grown women, and throughout history, and we'll say, well, the first thing that comes to mind is what did they do? Well,
Right.
you saw what did Alex Peretti do?
Exactly. He didn't do anything. He didn't do anything wrong. And look, it's a shame. This is not supposed to be the America that we live in, and that's why, again, like I said, I have the MLK approach. We are not free until all of us are free. That's when we're free. That's when we're the land of the free. When all of us are free. And at the bottom line is that you're an American who's engaging in your God-given, constitutionally protected right of freedom to assemble, freedom of speech, and freedom to protest. You should not meet a death sentence.
Absolutely. And I'll even take it a little step further there, Amiri. If they have such thing as called the court systems, and if Mr. Peretti or anyone else is breaking the law, then lock them up. But it doesn't mean you as an ICE agent or a policeman should act as judge, jury, and executioner in the street.
Exactly.
I don't think so. Now, let's go abroad here a little bit. Let's talk about what's going on in Venezuela for a minute. Do you think any of those boats that Donald Trump, those little small boats that Donald Trump said that he was blowing up out of the water along with Pete Hegseth, we don't even talk about them. Do you really think that was a ploy, or do you think it's a bigger ruse to something else that the Trump regime is up to?
No, I think it definitely was an intimidation tactic. I don't take at face value this idea that these were narco terrorists and that these were people who were bringing in fentanyl. I don't think it was that at all. I think it was people in the Trump administration using their power to commit state-sanctioned murder.
Absolutely.
Well, we're not talking about any due process or any of these things. So I think what you saw playing out was someone was throwing around America's military weight and military might as a point to intimidate. That's what I think.
So do you think without the might of the United States of America, do you think we would get away with as much as we do?
Oh, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, absolutely not.
So you think that he would be able, Trump would be able to threaten Greenland and Denmark the way he is without the United States military, knowing that he has some folks of the military that's willing to back him?
Right. No. But the thing about that, starting to catch up with Donald Trump. Some of it, you're starting to see more and more people push back. You had the Prime Minister of Canada, who at that same Global Economic Forum in Davos, who got up and kind of gave a pretty stiff rebuke um, to Donald Trump and his rhetoric and his behavior. And you've had other nation states begin to push back a little bit more vehemently. Look, you had Jerome Powell, who's the Fed chair, the chairman of the Federal Reserve. He's even beginning to stand up to Donald Trump. So again, like I said, one of the best things that we have going for us is that now that Donald Trump in the second term, he came in with such a whirlwind that they've been pursuing a lot of the agenda, but people are getting a taste of it and they don't like it. And so the tide is really beginning to turn. Look, we saw this with who was that ICE commander? I can't remember his name, but they sent him back the way he came from.
Bavino,
yeah, they had to, he had to get up out of there. So you're starting to see the tide turn against Donald Trump. I mean, even with the unjustified killing of Mr. Alex Peretti, you saw the White House in the hours following and the days trying to scramble and come up with a good enough excuse and a good enough lie to try and evade some of the heat. So some of this stuff is starting to catch up. By them being able to do what they've been doing, people are really beginning to, public sentiment is turning against them. And that's a good thing.
Yep, I'm sorry. You're absolutely right. I think it is, and I think it's. Do you think what's going on is the last straw, Amir? You think the American people, as much as they wanted to ride with Donald Trump, so many of his campaign promises that he broke, like making things affordable, no more new wars, and all those other things. Do you think, of course, we're trying to stay away from it, but I have to mention it, the Epstein files, because that didn't seem to scream too much. So you think this is the final straw that broke the camel's back?
No, I don't think it's the final straw, but I do think that we have a good opportunity in 2026 with the midterms, provided they don't pull some kind of stunt and impede the election somehow. I think that provides us a good opportunity to take control of Congress, of the U.S. House of Representatives, maybe even the Senate. And so then at the very least, we will have some semblance of divided government, which is what the founding fathers always envisioned, and why they set up the kind of system that we have, where you have co-equal branches of government, so there won't be a dictator, so there won't be one person who has control of all the levers of power and influence in the country. So while I don't think we have reached that point where you have the straw that broke the camel's back, I do think that there are enough Americans who are peeved. You have enough Americans who are fed up, and they're like, we are going to show our frustration with our vote. And so I think if things continue to go down this path, 2026 should be a good election cycle for Democrats up and down the ballot, not just on the national level, but also on a state level. In 2025, one of the things we saw many Democrats in these special elections and in these statewide offices, in these state legislative races, outperforming where Kamala Harris performed in 2024, and many of them were outperforming by double digits. So I think that just bodes well for Democrats, and I think it bodes well for the people. The American people do not like this style of governance, and I think they're going to let that be known in November 2026.
So in essence, the midterms that's coming up, it's very important to us as Americans. If you think if the Republicans stay in power, it's going to get a whole lot worse, isn't it? But if the Democrats do take over, what do you think is some of the first things that they should do when they take over Congress?
Well, if the Democrats, if we're fortunate enough to take over Congress, I think they need to go full force after the people that Trump has around them. These people that are enabling Trump, or rather that Trump is enabling. I think they should be impeached and get them out of office. People like Kristi Noem, people like Voight, the guy who's over the congressional. I believe it's the Congressional Budget Office, the CBO. They need to get rid of him. He's one of the authors of Project uh, 2025. People like Stephen Miller, who was Trump's chief of staff. Even look at people like Marco Rubio, who's Secretary of State. Definitely Pete Hegseth, who we already know was given a go ahead for these unsanctioned military strikes on those Venezuelan shipping boats with no due process, no proof that these people were narco terrorists, and even if they were narco terrorists, as if that just gives you a license to kill. So I think if Democrats are able to get control of one of the chambers of Congress, maybe both of them, then they need to start dismantling this Trump regime by going after these sycophants that he's put into positions of power, by impeaching them and getting them out of there.
And even if it includes jail times, because I think some of the offenses that they have, like Pete Hegseth, and any other circumstance, correct me if I'm wrong, Amari, in any other circumstance, he should be up in front of a military tribunal. Wouldn't you say so?
Absolutely. If there's been a crime committed that has transgressed international law or American law, then these people need to be held accountable. They need to pay the piper. Look, the system that we have in this country works when we hold people an account to it. Like if we set this precedent where you can do these things and then get out of office and then just go about your life like it's no big deal, then what's to stop the next person from getting there and doing those same things or doing things that's much worse? So yeah, I definitely think that, look, these people need to be held accountable. If they've broken the law, there needs to be consequences and repercussions. If I did it, there would be consequences and repercussions for me. If you did it, there would be consequences and repercussions for you. So what makes these people above the law? Nobody is above the law.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Amiri, I know you're quite busy, sir, but there's the one other last thing that I want to touch on. You know, it's off the beaten path a little bit, but you know, us black men, you know, I have to speak on it. You know, this business of you know who and you know what. You know, we're all talking about two guys that really shouldn't have that much attention. So how do we get away from that part of us, Amiri? How do we get away from talking about the Anton Daniels and the Corey Holcombs and the Charleston Whites? How do we steer our young people in the direction of these are not the men that we want to follow? We want to follow men like yourself. Several times in this conversation, I heard you mention Dr. Martin Luther King. And I was having a conversation with someone else, and it was like now he's gotten to the point to where even our own children are starting to think that he's an afterthought or footnote in history.
Right. Well, the thing is, we have to have people who are willing to step up and be that example and be that alternative. And so, look, that's one of the things that I'm doing. Again, I want to set an example and let not only my children but other people's children and other young men know that there's a different way to be a black man. You don't have to be loud, belligerent, ignorant. You don't have to be on here pretending to be something you're not. You don't have to be on here cosplaying. You don't have to be on here channeling and parroting white male grievance politics to be masculine, to be equipped, to be adept, and to be effective at being a man. I think unfortunately, because of this whole red pill zeitgeist, one of the things that have been one of the undue consequences of it is there have been many young men, many young black men, many young brothers who have been duped into believing that it's a masculine thing to be anti your community. This is what they believe. This is what they've been, because again, the entire teeth of the red pill movement. I've been telling these brothers this since I was on YouTube since 2017, that the entire teeth of that is white male grievance politics. Brother, you've never been under any illusions about the nature of your women, what she is capable of or what she's not capable of. You've never been taught this myth of black womanhood. You've never been taught that she was something pristine to be put on a pedestal and to be admired or adored. So why the hell would you need a red pill movement? For what? What are you talking about?
All right, because these are the same guys that run around to tie that in with this black fatigue thing. So add that to what are you speaking?
Right. Yeah. Well, like even if you look at the thing of how they, again, this is this mental intellectual jujitsu, where they've taken the real term of black fatigue and what it represented and what it meant, was who the author of that book was, a black woman talking about what the weight and the cost of being black in a society that is dominated by whiteness, even when it's white grievance, and how that affects your physiology, how it affects your mental capacity, how it affects your relationships. And she called that black fatigue. And so we saw where in this age of TikTok and social media, these algorithms, you've had these white supremacist MAGA type content creators, both male and female, take that term and use it and turn it around and weaponize it against black people. And unfortunately, in that happening, you've had these black content creators, particularly brothers, black males I've seen doing this, who have caught on to that, glommed onto it, and then started engaging in that too. Because again, what are these people doing? They're algorithm junkies. They're looking to ride the algorithm to a YouTube payday. And then the funny thing about all of this, Mr. DJ Music, is they really think that their bullshit YouTube money, their AdSense money, and their super chat money, they really think that it's somehow a skill that they're getting, like they have a skill, and so that's why they're getting paid. No, let's call it what it is. That's a YouTube allowance.
That's basically what it is, and I'm glad you finally said that, because if any of you grown men, now, not to say that a YouTube career can't be lucrative, because it can,
right?
But for the most part, folks, you talking about, okay, who's hot this week? He might get a couple super chats. He might get a couple cash apps. Drop him. Who's hot next week? So you got to keep constantly inventing yourself. And what I've seen, again, along with the black fatigue and the wokeness and all these other things that they've hijacked, you have men. You can give me pushback if you like to, Amiri, but I see men from the ages of 35 to 45, black men, that are pushing that same rhetoric. It's like the black women are the problem. And then when they get stuck on something, the first thing they want to do is run back into the folds. Tell me.
No, you're right. Look, we saw this with 6 years ago with Kevin Samuels, when you would have thought that it was a bunch of high earning, nothing but the black community was filled with high earning black men who was high value. Because 6 years ago, they always high value. They had so much money, Mr. DJ Music. They didn't care if the woman had a job. They didn't care if she had a degree where she was able to help pay bills or make money. Or they didn't care about none of that. Now, all of a sudden, 6 years later, because this inflation tearing them pockets up, now all of a sudden they're going back to the "you got to help me" bill thing. So which one is it, brother?
Wait a minute, Amir. During your YouTube career, there was a guy named BGS talking about the women. The women was coming back to the table. Winter was coming, right? How many years ago was that?
That was what, six plus years ago.
Right. And guess what? He just dropped a stream the other day talking about the winter is here. The black women are coming.
Right. Yeah. Now he talking about winter is here, but sitting there acting as if he's built for the winter, as if he's built for the weather. See, look, you got people like BGS. He could talk that crap all he wants, but BGS is in California. That's a liberal state where you have a bunch of liberal progressive policies in place that's undergirding people like him. But if you're somebody, if you're a person in Arkansas, or you're a person in Mississippi, or you're a person in the deep South that's very conservative in a red state that doesn't have as much social safety net type programs like California, then you're really up against it. So it's easy for him to talk that nonsense over there where Gavin Newsom is the governor and you have a Democratic state legislature that's actually
Assault place
helping.
the land. Right.
Exactly, but you don't have that over like in the region of the country
Right.
where I am.
Right. So before I let you go, what do you say to the brothers and the sisters that, as I say, that eventually it's going to get the black card, like the Jason Whitlocks, like the Stephen A. Smiths? What do you say to them as a politician? One of the brothers that's on the ground actually doing something. What do you say to them when all else breaks down and you run to them and they try to give you the pushback, saying that what you're doing it's not going to be beneficial to the community because there's really don't have a community and there's no such thing as black culture?
Well, I would just say to those types of black people, like, look, you guys have had a run of being able to say this type of adverse, negative rhetoric. You've had a platform. People have been platforming you and incentivizing you to say this kind of stuff. But there's a reckoning coming. And as I mentioned before, Mr. DJ Music, I have the Tracy Morgan approach. Don't think I'm gonna forget. Don't think I've gotten into politics for no reason. And the other thing that I really want my detractors and haters to know is don't think in any way that I'm equivocating from anything I've ever said. If that's what you got out of what's going on, then you're misinterpreting what's going on. I'm doubling down and tripling down on everything that I've been saying. And see, it's easy to talk nonsense on YouTube and these algorithms, but in the realm where I am now, this is the real game.
Right.
Come follow me. If you're deep enough to swim in these waters, come follow me and let's see what happens.
Right, because a lot of these folks are talking at you, but they're talking from the shore, aren't they? They're not in the deep waters. They're not in the deep waters. Absolutely. I couldn't think of a better way to end on this than to say, Amiri, you're one of those guys. I'm of course I'm older than you, but there's nothing wrong with looking up to someone that's younger than you. Because I wish I had, as Tyrone Davis said, if I could turn back the hands of time, I would love to be out there with you, in them streets pounding up. We need folks like you. Dr. King couldn't do it by himself, and I'm sure you can't do it by yourself. So that's why I wanted to platform you here, and anytime you want to talk about what's going on with you, or just have a place to get your thoughts and your ideas out to the general public, by all means, stop on in and holler at me, let me know. With that being said, why don't you tell the people about anything else that you want to hear and what's going on with you before we wrap this up, sir?
All right, well, thank you again. I appreciate you for having me on, Mr. DJ Music. Look, the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And I think in the end, I believe in the end, good always triumphs over evil. And my main thing is this: look, if you're not my enemy, if you're a white person, you're not my enemy. If you're a conservative, if you're a Republican, my enemy is evildoers. If you're a doer of evil, then yes, you are my enemy. And in the end, good always reigns over evil. So good is going to be victorious.
Absolutely, there, Mary. I couldn't have said it better. If you're out there doing wrong, and I spot it, I'm gonna say something. I'm sure with Amiri the same way. So for you brothers and you sisters that's out there, that's always taking a caca on us, there's some of us out here. We do care, and I'm gonna keep bringing them to you like this. So with that, Amiri, again, thank you so much. Again, anytime that you want to come back and chop it up with me, or anything that I could do, because of course I got some folks in some areas that you're affiliated with down there. Well, and I'll damn sure enough send them into your direction, and to help with the momentum. Anything that you need from me or my radio station, if you want to do some ads there and put them on the airwaves, by all means, that we'll have that done for you as well.
Okay, thank you so much. I definitely appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much. And let me say thank you to some of the folks that came over here. Alexander Brandon, thank you so very much. Yeah, man, I'll hang out with you. Just let me know what time. Prism, thank you. ABT, thank you. Miss J, thank you. All you folks, HT Baldwin, thank you for stopping in. Again, folks, don't ask for your donations. If you got children, grandchildren, uncles, cousins, or whatever, they might need them few coins that you're going to drop on me, or you can go find a donation or a shelter, drop it off there and say, hey, Mr. Music sent me up here. But other than that, like, share, and subscribe. Let's get the word out, because we got some true road warriors out there, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes they might need to stop in and put a little gas in the car, get the tire changed, and that's what we're here for. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, y'all have a safe day. I may be back a little bit later on this evening. If not, come on over to the radio station. Always some great music over there. In the meantime, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Have a good one.
Look, all you motherfuckers been snitching for him and shit. Well, now you standing up in here and goddamn it talking about preach it, preacher, preach it, preacher. Fuck that nigga. Fuck that. I'm gonna shoot your ass too, motherfucker. Keep going. You gonna get shot too, nigga. You gonna get shot. God bless the fool, goddammit. God bless the fool. Now, I'm gonna tell y'all something. I'm gonna end this goddamn thing. Look, where's that goddamn money bowl at? Who got that money bowl? We're taking that money right now before you leave this bitch. We ain't leaving out here for free, motherfucker. Yeah. Y'all know the motherfucker ain't no good. Look,